Hello and welcome to episode. Well, I guess it's not really an episode, but welcome to the I Like Numbers and F1 podcast, where today's topic of discussion is the Australian GP Friday, where I am going to look at FP1 and FP2 and just talk about the numbers because I like numbers and F1, so why not talk about both of them at the same time? First off, I would just like to go through the updates that everyone has brought to Australia. Should be fairly quick, and all these images that are about to appear on screen have come directly from FIA official accounts. So let's start off with McLaren. I'm not going to go too in depth into these upgrades. This is just meant to be a brief overview so you know what's going on this weekend. McLaren have brought a new floor, new rear suspension, and new rear wing, all for performance. And it's just a revised floor geometry, updated rear wing, suspension fairing, and a completely new rear wing. That's basically all this is going to be about. It's just going to be that, and for every team, and then we can get into the proper results of FP1. So Mercedes brought bodywork, front wing, and rear wing upgrades, all for performance, and it's just local load stuff. With their geometric differences is a lot more in depth than McLaren's, which is a little bit annoying. But essentially, the bodywork is more downwash in side view with high inlet. The front wing has increased camber and no strake, and the rear wing has increased camber. Obviously, since these are images directly taken from the FIA account, there's like that is not very helpful. So I obviously haven't been able to find images. This is late. Like if I tried finding images, this would not have come out before FP3. It might still not. So in an effort to make sure that it does, let's move on to Red Bull, who have brought a new front wing, new nose, well, I say new, have brought front wing upgrades, nose upgrades, and rear wing upgrades, all for performance. Front wing revised to comply with 2026 regulations. Same with the nose and same with the rear wing, which is really funny. Um, so yeah, apparently just their wings weren't uh, complying with the 2026 regulations, which how has that not been changed during the Bahrain test? I don't know. I would have thought that they would have been told to do something about it during the Bahrain test. I suppose they probably were, and they just didn't have time to fix it. Bit odd, if you ask me. And so we can move on to Ferrari, who have brought front wing upgrades, floor body slash diffuser upgrades, and rear wing upgrades. Front wing is narrower and with a longer chord front wing with straight mode system integration. The floor has been reduced in dimensions and a simplified underbody. And the rear wing just says 3-element active rear wing. As far as I'm aware, from practice, it's not the 180, well, 270 rear wing, which probably is still being developed on and won't arrive for the first couple of races, probably. Williams have brought 4 upgrades for this week, for this first race. The Coke slash engine cover, the front wing end plate, the floor, and the rear wing. A new engine cover exit is available, which reduces the exit area of the at the rear of the car. A new front wing end plate plane geometry has been designed, which has an alternative profile to the original. Compared to the launch car, a new floor update is available, which features a new floor winglet cut out ahead of the rear tyres. And for the rear wing, new winglets and rear wing pillar extensions have been designed as optional parts to be fitted to the original rear wing, most of which you cannot see in this image. Why has the FIA done this? Thanks for making my life difficult. The only reason I'm doing this is because I did see these images while scrolling this morning, so I suppose I can't complain too much. Visa Cash App Racing Bulls have brought an upgrade to the floor body, to the Coke engine cover, the cooling louvers, and the rear corner. Updated keel, floor, leading edges, devices, and rear floor. The top deck of the engine cover has been reshaped. Additional configurations of cooling louvers with increased and decreased openings. The geometry of the winglets on the rear corner has been updated. I might as well just mention it now. All upgrades for this weekend are purely performance. Sometime later in the season, Monaco, Monza, you will start to see upgrades be circuit specific. Aston Martin, can you guess how many upgrades they have? They have 8. Front wing end plate, nose, side pod inlet, Coke/engine cover, diffuser, and the rear wing. Here we go. Front wing. 3-element narrow front wing. The front wing is mounted to the nose from the second element, and straight mode is achieved with a movable third element. The front wing end plate includes a dive plane on the outboard side and a OB foot with a channel on the lower surface. What does OB mean? If you've come here for technical analysis, you're in the wrong place. The nose is higher and now separated from the front wing elements. Pylons are attached to the nose. The front wing, what? Pylons are attached to the nose, the front wing from which the front wing is mounted. A official FIA document, by the way. Thank you. The large undercut from the side pod is continued to the rear of the car. The top deck slopes down towards the rear of the car, with cooling exits more centrally on the engine cover. The diffuser extends rearward from the flat floor and carries the diffuser winglet defined by the regulations. A single fence is positioned within the diffuser. 3-element rear wing with pylons mounted to the lower surface of the first element. The rearward 2 elements are activated in straight mode, reducing their incidence. I suppose engine stuff is not talked about during these updates listed by the FIA. On to Haas. Front wing end plate, floor body, and floor edge. The 2026 regulations introduce a revised layout for the front wings, a revised layout for the front wing end plates, a revised layout for the floor, and a revised layout for the floor edge. So a bit like Red Bull, they probably weren't in compliance. Oh, there's more. It goes on to a second page. Diffuser, rear wing, and beam wing. Just copy and paste. A revised regulations introduced a revised layout for diffuser geometry. The 2026 technical regulations allow for a 3-element upper rear wing configuration within a reduced legality volume compared to previous seasons. So it seems to me that Haas have written this down as if they're talking about comparing it to 2025, which fair enough. And the beam wing allow a simplified lower wing element. So yeah, they're talking more to 2026 versus 2025, which isn't necessarily how it's supposed to go. Interesting that Audi are put next. I'm going to do Alpine because Audi aren't put next. Audi are put after Alpine. I'm just going to put Audi first because it's still the same team, it's just a different name. So they brought front wing upgrades, side pod inlet, and side pod body updates. Separate SLM actuators for each side at straight line mode. Actuators for each side of the front wing flap. Unique geometry shaped to work closely with the floor and rear bodywork for the side pod inlet. And downwash geometry with the upper surface of the side pod sloping downwards towards the back of the car. So, but performance upgrades, flow conditioning. I should also mention that, shouldn't I? And Alpine brought front wing, coke engine cover, and rear wing updates. Performance for the front wing with local load, complete new front wing design in accordance with 2026 regulations. So yeah, Alpine, Haas, and Red Bull have seemingly took this approach to compare it to 2025's car. So it doesn't actually tell you much about what's different with their car. Coke engine cover has been updated for flow conditioning. It just says complete new bodywork. And the rear wing, complete new rear wing design in accordance with 2026 regulations, listed as performance, local load. And last but not least, Cadillac. 3 updates for them. Front wing, local load, front wing end plate, local load, and rear wing, local load. The local load is listed as primary reason for update. I should have mentioned that. I'm not good at this. You can tell it's my first time doing this. Front wing, updated flap design with revised span-wise loading. Updated end plate design with revised inboard detail. And updated design with revised flap loading for the rear wing. So now that we have all 11 teams talked about, we can move on to the important stuff, which is Ferrari 1-2 in FP1. I'm a little bit annoyed that did not pop up immediately because I did not press the button quick enough. So in FP1, top 3 were Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen, with a Leclerc on a 1 minute 20.267, with Hamilton 4 tenths behind and Verstappen 5 tenths behind. Championship back on. It's the year of the horse. A few key points to note. Alonso was not able to complete any laps and so has not been included in this classification from the FIA. Don't remember the highlights. I watched them about 12. I watched them 15 hours ago now at this point, so I do not remember what happened much. Norris also down there a bit, and with only 7 laps, whereas most of the guys were completing 30-ish laps. Leclerc with the most on 33, Hamilton getting 30, and Sainz also getting 30, taking the top 3 most laps. Aston look very poor with only completing 3 laps between the pair of them. So it's not looking good for them at all. FP2 shows a slightly different story, with Piastri taking the top spot with a 1:19.7, Antonelli in second with a 1:19.9, 2 tenths off, and Russell in third with a 20.0, 3 tenths off. The most laps completed was by Hulkenberg on 34, with Hamilton taking second spot with 32, and Albon in third with 32 also. Key points of note: Perez was only able to complete 2 laps, having issues throughout the whole session, and Stroll and Alonso completing less than 20 laps each. Sainz also only able to complete 10 laps, Verstappen only completing 13, and Gasly only completing 16. All of those with less than 20 laps. Everyone else had more than 30. I realise I don't have the images ready for individual teams, which I should have, so I'm just going to go back to the images that I had for the updates and start off with McLaren. And now I'll go through each team in detail, and then I will go over the data collected by the guys at F1.com and talk about what they've put in their practice debrief. So, McLaren, Lando in FP1 was P19 with a 24.3, 4 seconds off the pace with 7 laps completed. In FP2, he was 7th, 29 laps under his belt with a 20.7, 1 second off the pace. Whereas Piastri was 6th in FP1 with 21 laps and a 21.3, 1 second off the pace. And 1st in FP2 with 26 laps and 19.7, first. In the interview afterwards, Lando said it's been a tricky first day, and he thinks they've got a bit of work to recover over the evening. I would expect so. Lando's not had the best of days today, and Piastri has had a better day. A lot of learnings learned, and a reasonably good day, he says. FP1 was tricky, had a few power unit calibration issues at the beginning, but resolved them during the session, and FP2 ran smoothly, finding a bit more consistency and the car behaving more as they expected. And Rob Marshall, the chief technical officer and chief designer, saying it's a positive day with some trickier moments, but a lot of learning across all aspects of the regulations. Investigated an issue for Lando in FP1, which was a transmission control issue, which was resolved ahead of FP2, which ran a little bit more smoothly, finding more consistency and gaining valuable data across various runs, including qualifying simulations. Reasonable position in regards to getting the car dialed in, and overnight they'll review where they can keep making steps forwards across all aspects of the car setup, tyres, power unit, and optimization. So on to Mercedes, where Russell was 7th in FP1 with 26 laps, a 21.3, 1.1 seconds off the pace. 3rd in FP2 with 28 laps, a 1.20, and 3 tenths off the pace. Whereas Antonelli was 8th in FP1, 24 laps with a 21.3, 1.1 off the pace, and 2nd in FP2 with 31 laps and a 19.9, 2 tenths off the pace. Pretty good start for Mercedes. Moving up the same amount of positions. No, not quite. Never mind. That was incorrect. Russell moved up 4. Antonelli moved up 6. So a decent weekend for Mercedes. Looked like they could be up there for the win. However, George saying that he didn't have the smoothest of Fridays. FP1 was tough, where they were struggling to optimize battery harvesting and deployment. But they made a positive step in FP2 and had a much better session. Similarly, Antonelli said it was a difficult day start in FP1, and they enjoyed a much stronger FP2 after working hard between sessions. Andrew Sutherland, the trackside engineering director, said that they finished the day in a decent place, but their first session was very messy. On to Red Bull, where for whatever reason, OBS has not listed these images in a sensible order. Max was 3rd in FP1 with 27 laps, a 20.7, 5 tenths off the pace, and 6th in FP2 with 13 laps, a 120.3, and 6 tenths off the pace. Whereas Hadjar was 4th in FP1, 24 laps under his belt with a 21.0 and 8 tenths off, and 9th in FP2 with 28 laps, a 20.9 and 1.2 off the pace. Why is Ferrari next on the F1 website? Max saying that in FP1 they did a good number of laps, and in FP2 they ran into a few issues. They didn't have a full day of clean running, but pace-wise, they are where Max expected. Isaac saying that his first session went very well, the reliability was good and solid throughout the day. Faced a little bit more issues in FP2 where they struggled with deployment. But he's saying it's never going to go smoothly on day one, so looking into it to work it out ahead of tomorrow. Paul Monaghan, chief engineer, said that they ran obviously 2 cars with their own power unit for the first time at a race weekend, and they'd done a fantastic job given both cars were competitive in FP1. Balance was good, and there's a couple issues in FP2. Electronic control box played up with Max in the pit lane. Got it back, couldn't get it out of gear, but we sorted it and was able to send Max out again, which is responsible for his only 13 laps. Also, Max had a massive moment through in FP2 through turn 10, going through the gravel and kicking up a horrendous amount of gravel and bodywork from his own car. But yeah, Hadjar's impressed me. I thought he would do not as well. It is only practice, but I don't think Yuki was consistently up there. So if Hadjar can stay up there, all for it. Hopefully he can get tons of podiums this season. It'd be a real shame to see him fail like everyone else. But it seems like they've got something that is working for them at the moment. Speaking of working for them at the moment, on to Ferrari, who had Charles in first in FP1 with 33 laps and a 20.2, and was 5th in FP2 with 30 laps and a 20.2. Also slightly slower than his FP1 lap, 5 tenths off the pace. And Hamilton was 2nd in FP1 with 30 laps and a 20.7, 4 tenths off, and 4th in FP2 with 32 laps and a 20.0, 3 tenths off. Overall, looking good for Ferrari. Not the best that your best lap came in FP1 instead of FP2. But Charles says it's a positive start to the weekend. FP1 was solid, and they tried a different setup in FP2. They're expecting teams to start revealing their true form, and they think there's a little more to come. Lewis saying it's been a really good day, and it's been great to get back on track. And just talking about the fans as always, challenging at times on track, but maximise their laps and execute the best of their ability. Even reaction times, as in FP2, Colapinto was having an issue down the main straight. For whatever reason, decided to stay on the racing line, and Lewis had to be quick about it and make sure that he did not cause a crash with a very slow moving Alpine directly on the racing line. 2 key points. Colapinto, why the hell were you on the racing line still? Wasn't even like you were trying to pull over to the left between the barriers. I'm pretty sure he's kept going for a little bit. And then Lewis, I mean, there were white flags indicating that there was a slow-moving car. But I guess you don't really expect that slow-moving car to be on the racing line. So I guess you can't tell. I mean, I think the sun was pretty low as well, so you probably couldn't tell. Depth perception might have been off a little bit, or it could just be his own age showing. No technical representative from Ferrari to talk about. Why is the F1 website all out of order? Williams is towards the bottom. Williams. They had a ish day with Albon 15th in both sessions, 24 and 32 laps, 23.1 in FP1, 2.8 off, 21.8 in FP2, 2.1 off. Sainz was a little bit more mixed, 12th and 17th, completing 30 and 10 laps respectively, completing a 22.3 in FP1, 2 seconds off, and a 22.2 in FP2, 2.5 seconds off. Williams look like they're struggling again. I'll have to make sure they're not on my fantasy team. I don't think it's looking like Williams won't be scoring points immediately. They had a couple of reliability issues. Obviously, Sainz only completing 10 laps in FP2. Alex stopped on track in FP1, but managed to get got a good amount of laps in FP1 anyway. Alex saying it was always going to be a challenge on the first day, and it wasn't their smoothest. We got a bit caught out with struggling with some data and getting in tune with the car, but they'll review that as they always do. Sainz, no comment from Sainz for whatever reason. Is he feeling ill this weekend? Nothing about it. Chief engineer for Williams. Respectfully, I'm not going to try and pronounce that name. Melbourne poses a particular challenge in terms of energy and deployment with the new regs. It's one of the energy poor circuits, so a lot of focus on the engineering side has been on driving styles and techniques to come up with to maximize energy harvesting and deployment. They've got an FP3 tomorrow, and they're going to use that to optimize it ahead of qualifying. But as expected, they believe top 4 teams are ahead and the midfield is close together. So their aspirations is to be ahead of to be at the top of the midfield weekend after weekend. Not necessarily speaking about this weekend, so maybe they don't think they're going to be up there, which is a shame after last year. But to be fair, they didn't start off the best last year with Sainz crashing into the wall. On to Racing Bulls, who had Lawson finish in P13 in both sessions, 28 and 29 laps respectively, with a 22.6 in FP1 and a 21.3 in FP2, 2.3 and 1.6 seconds off pace, whereas Lindblad did an amazing job getting P5 and P8 respectively, with 22 laps and 30 laps in FP1 and FP2, with a 21.3 and a 20.9, 1 second and 1.1 seconds off the pace in either session. Lawson said they had a very productive day, completed their run plan, and he felt happy with their speed, and obviously trying to improve it as much as they can. But coming to Australia with a strong car, developing simulations and limited runnings puts them in a promising position. Arvid saying it's been a good first day in Melbourne. This morning, before getting in the car, there was a bit of nerves, but he enjoyed it throughout the day and able to work on the program with the team, trying short runs as well as high fuel ones, and just getting prepared for tomorrow. Key point I will mention now, because I forgot to talk about it when I was talking about Russell, is that during one of the practice sessions, Arvid was in the fast lane waiting to leave the pit lane, and George decided that he was going to try and cut in the queue. Not very Britishly of him. And then contact was made. George's front wing to Arvid's wheel. I'm not sure if it was both front wheel and rear wheel, but definitely made contact with the rear wheel. And classic George decided to blame Arvid for it. Now I can't remember. I know there's some sort of, if you have your wheel in the fast lane, you get priority. I'm pretty sure George did not have that. And even so, it's practice. Why you even risking that? It's, if it was qualifying, I'd understand, but it's not. It's practice. So Russell doing Russell things immediately as the season begins. Alan Permain, team principal at Racing Bull, saying it's been a straightforward Friday and able to run a normal program with a brand new car, which was very good. Brought a new floor and rear wing, which has been assessed alongside the tyres and seen where they are on balance and pace. Lost some time this morning with Arvid due to a software glitch, who pulled up outside, literally got to the pit lane exit and just stopped. Similar thing happened to Max in FP2. But the issue did not phase Arvid, and he took it all in his stride. Got work to do, but the car was responding well. So on to Aston Martin, who are looking, to put it bluntly, terrible. No chance of them finishing the race, honestly. The article must be laid out in terms of how well they think the teams are going to be, because Aston are towards the bottom, just above Pirelli. They're below Cadillac. Yeah, Stroll. Why did I start with Stroll? Alonso, 22nd in FP1, no laps completed. 20th in FP2, 18 laps completed with a 24.6, 4.9 seconds off the pace. Stroll in FP1, completing 3 laps with a 150.3, 30 seconds off the pace. And P21 in FP2 again, with 13 laps and a 25.86 seconds off the pace. So at the moment, Stroll is not making the 107% rule, which is shocking, to say the least. Only Alonso commented in the media, saying that they didn't complete much laps today as they suffered with PU issues, and they need to learn as much as possible about the car so that they can fix it, obviously, and they need more laps to do this. Big challenge to improve their reliability and performance, but everyone is working flat out to improve the situation. One of my friends said to me earlier today, saying it must be hard being one of the engineers that isn't working on the power unit, because, as I pointed out afterwards, then you can't do anything. Nothing you can do can help. Which, yeah, all teams combined, all drivers so far, I think, apart from a few outliers like Max and Sainz, have completed a full race distance in terms of laps. Aston, not even combined, which is impressive, to be honest. Yeah, Lando completing 36, Oscar 47, George 54, Antonelli 55, 40, 52, 63, 62. It seems like only Ferrari were able to complete a full race distance. I think it's 57 around Australia. Let me just check that. 58. Almost had it correct. 56 from Alex. 40 from Sainz, 57 from Lawson, 52 from Lindblad. Yeah, only okay. I mean, point still stands. Almost every driver themselves has gotten a race distance under their belt from the first two sessions. Aston, not even combined. Barely half, 34th altogether. Leclerc by himself almost did more laps in a single session than Aston were able to do with two drivers across two sessions. That is just downright horrendous. I really hope they fix it because I don't want a team that's just at the back of the grid by themselves. Obviously, Cadillac might be there, but Cadillac are going to finish a race. Aston look like they won't. So, moving on to Haas. Where'd the image go? Why are they at the top? P11 for Ocon in FP1 and P10 in FP2, 28 and 29 laps respectively, with a 122.1 and a 121.1, 1.8 and 1.4 seconds off pace. Behrman was 14th and then 11th with 25 and 31 laps, with a 22.6, 2.4 off, and a 21.3, 1.5 off. Again, another two drivers that almost completed a race distance themselves. So it's looking pretty good for Haas. Looking decent-ish. I wouldn't say they're looking to be at the front, but I don't think they're going to be at the back like last year. So it's looking good for Haas, I'd say. Might pick up a point, or they will be fighting just outside it. Ocon said it was a positive day, that they in the sense that they learned a lot and found out a lot of things on track, which was very different to what they were used to in Bahrain. Making progress and make sure that they take a step forward for tomorrow. That's the target. Ollie said there's a lot going on, a lot of details and information to take in. Been interesting. Balance feels okay. There's some details to fix, but it's not miles off. Ayo Komatsu, the team principal, said that it's operationally as tough as expected. Operationally, they were far from where they needed to be. So they just need to simplify everything, focus and prioritize, get the high priority items correct. And as much as they spent on energy management, they haven't spent that much on car performance. But the good thing is car performance is decent. So, and both drivers were reasonably happy with the car. High fuel run was okay, and they're going to focus on quality performance in FP3 tomorrow. That's what that's for. On to Audi, who were looking pretty good in FP1. P10 for Hulkenberg, 21 laps with a 21.9, 1.7 off. And P12 in FP2 with 34 laps, 21.3, 1.6 off. And Gabi Bortoleto, 9th in FP1, 23 laps with a 21.6, 1.4 off. And 14th in FP2 with 28 laps and a 21.6, also 1.9 off. Funny thing I want to point out about the Audi lap times in FP1, I'll just bring up the image so you can see for yourself. Hulkenberg was a 21.969 and Bortoleto was a 21.696. Their numbers, that they had each other's lap time, except the milliseconds did a barrel roll basically, which I thought was pretty funny when I first saw it. Audi looking pretty decent. Honestly, they should be swapped with how Aston Martin are performing. But at the moment, they're doing pretty alright for themselves, which is quite respectable. Um, Looks like they could be the ones at the front of the midfield, or at least very much fighting for the low end points. Nico saying it was mostly clean running and they managed to get through a good number of laps, which is always important early in the weekend. There are a couple of issues that they needed to tidy up, but that's part of the process. A lot of information to go through tonight, and they will analyse everything to see what they can improve for tomorrow. I am realising that it is basically tomorrow in Australia. It's almost tomorrow for me. 40 minutes time, and it's tomorrow. Gabby Bortoletto saying that FP1 was very smooth and solid, which gave him a good baseline to begin. But in FP2, he struggled a little bit more with a couple of things that they need to address. But it's part of the process with such a big change in the regulations. This stage, they're focusing on improving the basics, building foundations before moving to the finer details. There are many areas to refine the car and the power unit, and that understanding will only come with time and data. It's still very early in the season, so the priority is to keep learning and improving. No comment from team representatives. On to Alpine then, who had Gasly in 18th with 27 laps and a 24.0, 3.7 seconds off the pace in FP1. And in FP2, 16th with 16 laps, a 22.1 and 2.4 seconds off the pace. Colapinto had a little bit, never mind, just mirror his positions. 16th in FP1, 26 laps, 1.1 minute, 23.3, 3 seconds off. And 18th in FP2, 27 laps, 1 minute, 22.6, 2.8 seconds off. As I said, Colapinto having reliability issues in FP2, deciding to be very dangerous and stay on the racing line whilst cars were behind him. As I expected, Alpine did not seem to improve that much from last year. I honestly didn't see how they could, because most of their problems last year were not just the engine. Yeah, that car's not always been the greatest. If it was, it would never have got so bad, because like we already knew their engine is pretty bad, even from like the Red Bull period where they were using Renault engines, and then they just fell off dramatically. Like the guys were complaining about the car the whole time. Yeah, I know they worked on the car from the very beginning of 2026, but as Haas showed in 22, you can make a step up, but it's not going to be huge. So yeah, Alpine look like they're struggling a little bit, and Pierre confirming that. Oh, meanwhile, stewards took a look and opted for no further action with the Colapinto issue. Pierre confirming that, saying it's been a very tricky Friday for the first race of the season. Knew it'd be challenging, but there's still so much to learn and understand on the new cars, and the day has been trickier than they expected. Stopped early in FP2 as a precaution, which limited their run plan in that session, and it's probably good to identify those issues now, and they have some work to do overnight to fix them ahead of FP3 tomorrow. Right now, they have a bit of work to do in order to have the car in a more consistent place, and it's not been a clean day, so he's sure that once they get on top of it with a few things and maximise their running, they will be in a much stronger position. Colapinto having the same opinion, not had the smoothest start to the weekend, but he's sure that they've learned enough today to improve performance ahead of tomorrow. It's only practice, and they've seen a few key areas where they know they have to fix things and improve. But he's confident that they can do that ahead of tomorrow. Expected challenges, especially coming to the unique circuit like Albert Park with a completely new car. But they did a good number of laps, which gives them a lot to look at, and hopefully they can find improvements. On Franco's side, he has a little issue with some dry ice and debris in his eye towards the end of FP2. Fortunately, it was not serious and no real cause for concern. Why was that not meant? Well, I suppose no radio about it, but that wasn't mentioned on the broadcast in the highlights at all. But yeah, decent amount of laps from Colapinto, getting 53 under his belt, a little less for Gasly getting 43, but it's still pretty decent. Almost 100 between them. Think about 96, yeah, pretty good. And last but not least, Cadillac. Bottas was 17th in FP1 with 24 laps, a 24.0, 3.7 seconds off the pace, and 19th in FP2 with 28 laps, 23.6, and 3.9 seconds off the pace. Perez was 20th in FP1, 14 laps, 124.6, 4.3 seconds off the pace, and last in FP2 with only 2 laps, no lap time. Mixed day for Cadillac. Both cars lost a mirror in FP1. I believe Perez lost his right mirror and Bottas lost his left mirror. Perez spun through turn 4. Looked like his rear just locked. Immediately came over the radio saying that he was having issues with engine braking, saying something along the lines of too much, I think, which explains the spin. It was definitely not a driver error spin. And then in FP2, had massive issues, which was not good for his running. Looking on the back foot, this weekend, Bottas doing pretty alright, 52 laps under his belt. And saying, great to be out there. Thank you for the whole team to getting the car ready. Had some challenges with the car build, but without the curfew, the team made the most out of it. So that's why it felt great to be out there. And personally, back to being F1, of course, taking the break from last year. And complete the first ever day as Cadillac Formula 1 team at Formula 1 Grand Prix. So all in all, not a trouble-free day, but learned from each lap. And they have a lot of good data to look at to try and be better tomorrow. Perez saying along the lines of, today is just a start, very proud to be out on track. It's a lot of small details that they need to clean up, but it was overall, it was a big step for the team to get both cars out there and running, building up the mileage. He's certain they will progress, and for now they are aiming to take it step by step, starting with a much more straightforward day in qualifying to build into qualifying tomorrow. And Graham Loden, team principal, saying that tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary of Cadillac receiving entry into Formula 1, and he has a very grounded appreciation for what it takes to build a team. Didn't really talk about the day much. Pat Simmons, the executive engineer, also commented that they had a challenging day with Checo with 2 unrelated problems in FP2, one of which was the fuel, which they had to take the energy store out to get to it. And then they had a hydraulic leak, teething troubles, but we'll get through them. They will get through them. And they had a pretty good day with Valtteri and able to learn a lot more about the cars and tyres and did the work they needed to and got the answers that they wanted to get, and they go into tomorrow with a lot more knowledge. So, what does F1.com's that's schedule? What do the correspondents and strategy people at F1.com think about the day? Well, quali pace, they believe McLaren's on top by a tenth to Mercedes in second. Ferrari just behind in third, and Red Bull little further back in fourth, 3/10 behind. And then there's quite a big gap to the midfield, but Racing Bulls look like they're going to be heading it just ahead of Haas by a tenth. And then it looks like they predict Audi to be 4/10 back, with Williams very close to Audi. Alpine looking to be in a world of their own, 6/10 back to Williams, but over a second quicker than Cadillac and Aston Martin, who are 3/10 slower than Cadillac. All of this is a little bit inflated. I believe there were several times last season where midfield teams were expected to be a second off. They weren't. So take this with a pinch of salt, of course. This is just based on simulations. We don't know how much fuel they're running. The teams are not going to tell us that. So this is just what they estimate. Similarly, in the race, they predict McLaren will be top, just ahead of Mercedes, who are just ahead of Ferrari, with a little bit of a bigger gap back to Red Bull. Expect Haas to be the best in terms of race pace, expecting Racing Bulls, RB and Audi to drop off, and expecting Alpine and Williams to come up a little bit. Alpine a little bit more than Williams, taking 6th spot, just ahead of them, and Cadillac are in 10th, an estimated half a second behind Audi, but an estimated 2/10 ahead of Aston, if they are gonna be able to race, which I personally do not think so. So that's a roundup of practice. 50 minutes long. I really did not want it to be this long. But that's what talking about what all the personnel in F1 said will do. If it was just me saying the lap times, honestly, not much you could gain from that. At least if I put it in the context of what teams and drivers said, because I know for a fact that most people would rather get their info from YouTube than actively checking the F1 website. So if you did do that, hey, I called you out, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Ferrari's championship is well and truly on. It's our year. Never doubted them for a second. Yeah. Yeah, I've got nothing much more to say. I really need to get this done and dusted so that I can get at least a little bit of sleep before FP FP3. I'm not going to watch FP3. So on at like 2 a.m. Getting up at 4 for qualifying is bad enough. Well, begins at 5. Yeah, I'm not staying. FP3 is in 2 hours' time, so I'm just going to end this now because otherwise this is irrelevant if it comes out after FP3. So, if you enjoyed this, let me know, and I can find some stuff to improve about it. Maybe images. Probably I probably can't get away with just taking the images from the F1 website. Because with what with their article about what the drivers and team said, they do have images of the cars on track. So I probably wouldn't be able to get away with taking the images from there. But honestly, it it honestly feels like they don't enforce stuff like that. But that shouldn't be an excuse for me to circumvent those. But maybe I'll look into it. So yeah, they have 2 images per team, so it would work pretty well. Anyway, that is that. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, also let me know so I can try and make this better. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully a little bit earlier, for a very brief roundup of FP3, but a more in detailed roundup of qualifying because I will actually be watching that one. Enjoy. Bye.